Hi everyone and welcome to your history lesson for today. So on the board is a picture of a famous explorer. Can you remember who this man is and what he was famous for? You might want to pause the video and write it down or tell somebody in the room close to you. Super well remembered. So this man is called Christopher Columbus, and Christopher Columbus was an Italian explorer who wanted to see the world to find new spices and land. Now remember from last week, some people thought that he was crazy because he wanted to sail all the way to Asia to discover these new kinds of foods. But Columbus wanted to do this, and in 1494, remember ships were not as good as they are now, he travelled all the way to what is now known as America. So at this time, people only had a map and a compass to guide them on the stormy seas. So many men did die during that exploration of the sea because boats weren't as equipped as what they are now. They weren't as strong and able to deal with some of the things that they can now. So do you think that you would have liked to explore the sea on one of these boats for months at a time? What do you think life was like for the sailors on one of these boats? Once again, you might want to pause the video, write down your ideas, or tell them to somebody close to you. Excellent, well done. So let's have a look at what life was actually like for some of these sailors. It was really difficult, their life on board the ship. They didn't have nice, soft, cozy, warm beds like we do at home. They didn't have toilets to keep things clean and hygienic. They didn't get to eat tasty foods, and especially fresh foods they didn't get to eat. And they didn't have access to clean running water like we do. Even though they were surrounded by all this water at sea, they couldn't drink it because the seawater would make them very, very ill. They didn't have toilets on board the ship. What they actually had instead was something called a toilet deck. And that means that any waste that they wanted to get rid of when they went to the toilet, it would have to go off the boat and into the sea. And the food that they ate, it was mainly quite horrible and disgusting because all their food had to be preservable. Can you say that word, preservable? Preservable. Excellent. So what that means is that the food that they took with them had to last for a really long time. They couldn't take anything that was fresh because it would go off in the time that they needed to eat it. So they had to take food that didn't really have many ingredients. And there was one particular food called a ship biscuit, and that was really just made from salt and water and flour, and it would dry into this really hard biscuit type thing, and then they would have to soak it in the water to soften it before they ate it. So not really very nice. So remember, the sailors on Columbus's ships, they didn't have nice, cozy, warm beds. They didn't even have a room to sleep in. They had to sleep on top of the deck. Now the deck is the top level of the ship. So remember, it's all exposed. There's no room, there's no roof to keep them warm or dry. So all the way through the night when they'd be sleeping, the water from the waves would be crashing onto the deck and making them even colder and even wetter. And everybody on board the boat, they had to work shifts. So what that means is that they had to take it in turns to do these special jobs. They all had chores to do. And they had a timer for half an hour, and that would give them enough time to do their job and then maybe even go and change to a different job or have a rest. So those jobs might be things like scrubbing the deck, maybe even having to scrub the toilet deck, or it could have been washing the dishes and keeping things clean. It could have been getting rid of all that water off the boat that was coming on in the nighttime from the storms. It could have been maybe something to do with their navigation and looking out for where they were going, put so many different jobs on board the ship to make sure that they got to their destination and that people, you know, stayed relatively clean all the way there. So what we're going to do is we are going to pretend that we are one of the sailors on Christopher Columbus's ships. And we're going to write a letter to somebody back home and tell them all about what life was like on board the ship that we are on. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a mini plan. And we've got some sentence starters here. And we've also got a word mat to help us out. So what you can do is you can get maybe a whiteboard or a bit of paper that you might have in your house, and you can write in the middle, just like I have, dear, and then whoever you would like to write your letter to. So it could be your mom or dad, auntie, uncle, cousins, brothers, sisters, your friend, whoever you would like to tell about your journey. So I'm going to write to my mum. So I'm going to write, dear mum, in the middle. I draw my circle around it, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw all around the edges some of my ideas about what I might want to tell my mum. So for example, I might want to tell her that it is very hard to be a sailor, or it is very hard to live on the ship. So then I would write that here. It is hard. And I don't need to write in massively long sentences because this is just my plan. Or I might want to say that we work all day long. We work all day long. So what we're going to do is I'm going to fill in this bit here that you can see, and you can do your own version on a bit of paper or on a whiteboard. So let's have a look. Then I'm going to write dear mum in the middle. And I've said to my mum that it is hard to live on a ship. I'm going to tell my mum that it's hard because we have to, remember you've got these sentence starters down here, we have to work hard all day long. And I might even want to tell her some of the things that we do. I might want to tell her that we have to scrub the deck or throw the water off. I think I'm going to tell my mum that the food is disgusting. The food is disgusting. I could even add to that and say, we don't get any fresh food. It's all a bit of a shame. I might tell my mum that I feel exhausted from all this hard work. I feel exhausted. I might tell my mum, remember we've got to use our sentence frames and we've got to use the word mat as well. We have to clean the deck, scrub the deck. I could say we have to work for hours. I could say I am hungry because the food is so disgusting. I could say there's barely anything to drink. I might say, actually, it's quite scary to be on the seas in the middle of a storm. I think I'm going to tell my mum that we have to sleep on the deck. And I'm going to say that it's cold, it's hard, and we get wet from sleeping on the deck, from all those waves crashing into us in the night. Super. So when you're ready with all your ideas about what life was like for a sailor on the ship, you can then continue to watch the video and I'll show you how I turn my plan into a letter. Okay, so now it's time to write our letter then. So let's have a quick look at our success criteria about what we need to do. We need to write who my letter is to and from. So when we write a letter, we need to start by saying to or dear, the person that we're writing to, and then we finish it at the end by saying from, and then our own name. We need to write from the perspective of the sailor. So that means that we are the sailors. We are going to use words like I and my and we, because I'm pretending that I'm the sailor on Christopher Columbus's ship. And don't forget, we've got to use capital letters and full stops. And if you'd really like to challenge yourself, I'd love to see you use some coordinating conjunctions and, but, and so to write some super connected sentences. So I'm going to start by saying who my letter is to. So I'm going to start by saying, dear mum, or I could say to mum. And remember, when I say to or dear, I have to start a fresh line underneath that. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to tell my mum is, it is hard living on a ship. So it is hard living on a ship. I'm going to say, we have to, so don't forget to use your sentence starters to help you, we have to work hard all day long. Now, remember that when you're writing, it's a really good idea for you to say the sentences out loud to yourself before you write them. So I'm going to say, we have to work all day long. I could say, we have to do chores all day long. So that's what I'm going to write. We have to do chores all day long. And then I'm going to add to that, I feel so exhausted. I feel so exhausted. Now, what else might I tell my mum? Oh, I'm going to tell her that there are no beds. Oh, what's the daisy? There are no beds. Now, I think instead of putting a full stop there, it might be a good idea to tell her what we do instead. So there are no beds. So remember, if I'm using a coordinating conjunction like and, but, or so, I need to put a comma before it. So there are no beds. So we have to, using the sentence starter again, so we have to sleep on the cold, hard deck. And then I'm going to tell her about what happens at night. The waves crash onto us at night. And I think I'm going to extend that with an and, so I need a coordinating conjunction there. The waves crash onto us at night and makes us very wet. And then I think I'm going to tell her about the food as well now. So I'm going to say, the food is disgusting too. The food is disgusting too. Or I could even extend that. I could say, because it's all preservable. Or I could say, and I could say, there's nothing to drink. And, or there is not much. And there is not much to drink. And I think I might finish my letter by saying that I miss you so much. I miss you so much. And then, to finish, I need to say that my letter is from Miss Hamami. But you don't write from Miss Hamami, you write from your own name. So let's just read that back. Dear Mum, it's hard living on a ship. We have to do chores all day long. I feel so exhausted. There are no beds, so we have to sleep on the cold, hard deck. I'm just going to pause there. The cold, hard deck. What's that an example of? I've got a determiner, adjective, adjective, noun. That's right. This is an expanded noun phrase. So when I have two adjectives next to each other, I need to put a comma between them. So let's go from that sentence again. There are no beds, so we have to sleep on the cold, hard deck. The waves crash onto us at night and makes us very wet. I think it just needs to be make. The food is disgusting too, and there is not much to drink. I miss you so much, from Miss Hamami. Now I could go through this again and edit it. I could maybe add in some of the things that we have to do and say we have to scrub the deck, so it's hard. We have to do chores all day long. We have to scrub the deck and throw the water back into the sea so the boat doesn't sink. That might be a good compound sentence actually. We have to throw the water back into the sea so the boat doesn't sink. And I might even go through and maybe add an extra adjective in there. So the enormous waves crash onto us at night. We have to do horrible chores all day long. So there are lots of different things that you could write and incorporate into your letter that we've also been learning about in our literacy as well. So if you would like a little bit of support with your letter writing, on the school website, there is access to, well, there's access to the sentence starters, the success criterias, the word maps, and also some sentence scaffolds. So following this one, we would follow it along, dear, and then whoever we're writing to. So dear mum. Remember, nothing else is there. We've got to start a new line after that. So dear mum. Now it's pointing to myself. So I say I. It's a verb. I am sailing on the sea. And don't forget, my sentence has ended here, so I need to put a full stop, super duper. And then I go into my next one. I clean the boat. So I could say boat or ship. So I could say ship, ship, ship. Or I could say boat, boat, boat. I clean the boat. And then your last one, I sleep on the deck. There you go. And then don't forget, I feel, think about how you might feel. And then don't forget to say who your letter is from at the end. And there is also this version where you just need to fill in the words if the other two are too tricky for you. Well done, everybody, for your history lesson today. I'm really looking forward to reading those letters that you send to your class email accounts. So keep working hard and hopefully we'll see you soon again. Bye.